The Bodhisattva, Kashyapa, then addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, a Tathagata's permanent body is something like a painted rock." The Buddha said to Kashyapa, "Good man, this is why monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen must all redouble their efforts to defend and uphold the true Dharma. The rewards for taking responsibility for preserving the Dharma are extensive, boundless. Good man, for this reason, laymen who defend the Dharma may need to take up swords and staves in this way to protect those monks who are upholding the Dharma. If one has taken the vow of maintaining the 5 precepts, in and of itself, that does not mean that person has earned the appellation a person of the Mahayana. On the other hand, someone who has not taken the 5 precepts yet defends the true Dharma would be given the title of a person of the Mahayana. When necessary, protectors of the true Dharma should take up swords and other weapons to serve the Dharma preachers." Kashyapa said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, if monks stand side by side with laymen, wielding swords or staves in defense of the Dharma, would they still be considered teachers or not? Would they still be maintaining the precepts or violating them?" The Buddha said to Kashyapa, "Do not suggest that this would mean a violation of the precepts. Good man, after my nirvana, a degenerate age will come upon the world. Nations will be in chaos. People will steal from one another, and society will be plagued by famine. At that time, many will aspire for the monastic life because they are hungry. Such individuals I call shavelings. When they see there are pure monks who are maintaining the precepts, protecting the true Dharma, and comporting themselves with dignity, these shavelings will run after those monks to chase them away, perhaps even injuring or killing them." The Bodhisattva Kashyapa then spoke to the Buddha. "World-honored one, those people who do keep the precepts and who do protect the true Dharma, how will they manage to travel between towns and cities in order to teach?" The Buddha answered, "Good man, that is why I now allow those who keep the precepts to rely on the companionship of those in white robes who wield weapons. Though kings, high officials, and merchants may take up weapons as lay followers in order to protect the Dharma, I declare this to be entirely in keeping with the precepts. However, though one may take up weapons in defense of the Dharma, he should not take another's life. To act in the way I have described would constitute the most principled precept-keeping. Kashyapa, when I say someone is protecting the Dharma, I am referring to a monastic who is endowed with right opinions, who can disseminate widely the Mahayana scriptures. Such a person never keeps decorated royal parasols, oil pots, rice or other grains, or any kind of fruits or melons. He does not cultivate relationships with kings, government officials, or the wealthy for personal gain. He is not obsequious toward patrons. He is meticulous in his comportment, and he is stern with those who break the precepts and others who behave badly. Such a person I call a teacher who keeps the precepts and protects the Dharma, who can be a true spiritual guide to living beings, and whose mind is broad and expansive like a great ocean. Kashyapa, if there is a monk who preaches the Dharma to others for personal gain, his followers and associates will learn from their teacher and also covet personal gain. This person will destroy his own community in this way. Kashyapa, there are 3 types of Sangha communities. 1. Sanghas that include people who violate precepts. 2. Sanghas made up of the foolish and ignorant. And 3. Sanghas of people who live in a pure way. The communities that include people who violate precepts are easily spoiled, but the communities of those who are pure in keeping the precepts cannot be spoiled, even by situations that offer them personal gain. Which sanghas include people who violate precepts? There are some monks who, although they normally observe the rules of behavior, when there is personal gain involved, spend considerable time with people who violate precepts and inevitably become intimate with them through joint activities. These I call precept violators, or Sangha members who mix with precept violators. Which Sanghas are foolish and ignorant? If there are monks in the forest whose faculties are dim and dull, and who do not see things clearly, who have few desires and beg for their meals, who, on the days for reciting the precepts or the occasions for confessing precept violations, teach their disciples how to make a pure confession, but when seeing others, who are not their disciples, blithely violate the precepts, yet do not manage to enjoin them to make a pure confession, and, unaffected by this, sit together with them throughout the precept recitation and confession ceremonies, this I call a Sangha of the foolish and ignorant. Which Sanghas are pure? These are the monks who are not damaged by the acts of even 10 trillion Maras. The basic nature of this group of bodhisattvas is pure, and they are able to straighten out the other 2 groups I have just mentioned, enabling everyone to live in peace in pure communities. I call them Dharma-protecting, most excellent Vinaya masters. Because of their desire to discipline and thereby benefit living beings, they understand which aspects of the moral precepts are unimportant and which are important. They do not affirm behavior that is not in keeping with the discipline. Behavior in keeping with the discipline they do affirm. How does someone discipline another? If bodhisattvas are going to spiritually transform other living beings, they must be a constant presence in towns and villages, regardless of time or occasion. They might end up in the homes of widows or female entertainers, even living together with them for many years. If they were Shravakas, this type of thing could not be done. But this bodhisattva work I call disciplining and benefiting living beings. How does one know which precepts should be considered weighty? As you see the Tathagata establish a precept on the basis of some incident, from that day forward you should follow that rule and take care not to commit a similar offense. Thus, we have the 4 grave parajika offenses that one who has gone forth as a monastic must never commit. If, despite these rules, one still transgresses, that person is no longer a Shramana. That person is not in the lineage of Shakyamuni. This I would call serious or weighty. Which precepts should be considered light? If one commits a violation in a trivial situation, and upon being remonstrated 3 times is able to give up such behavior, this I would call light or insignificant. To not affirm noncompliance with the precepts refers to the refusal to reside together with anyone who lauds impure things and urges you to accept them. To affirm compliance with the precepts refers to the careful study of the monastic precepts and the avoidance of anyone who violates them. Whenever noticing conduct in another that accords with the rules of the Vinaya, one's heart is filled with joy. This is how one grasps what is wrought in the Buddha's Dharma and is fully capable of explaining it. This is a person I would call a Vinaya master. One who thoroughly grasps just one word of the Vinaya, or one who thoroughly retains what is in the sutras, are also like this. In this way, good man, the Buddha Dharma is immeasurable, inconceivable. The Tathagata himself is thus beyond conception. The Bodhisattva Kashyapa then addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, just so, just so. Truly, a sacred teaching like the Buddha's Dharma is immeasurable and inconceivable. The Tathagata himself is just the same, beyond conception. Therefore, we know that the Tathagata is permanently abiding, indestructible, and unchanging. From now on, I will study hard in order to disseminate this meaning to others." At that time, the Buddha praised Kashyapa Bodhisattva. Excellent. Excellent. The body of a Tathagata is just that. A body that is adamantine and indestructible. Bodhisattvas should thoroughly study right perception and right understanding. If you are able to see all these things clearly in this way, then you will see the Buddha's adamantine body, his indestructible body, just as if you were looking at images of yourself, reflected in a mirror.